Pasta Vazul, baby.
Come on in.
Oops. Well, hello, Screamers! Welcome to the Scream Until You Like It podcast. I hope you're still screaming. I hope you're starting to like it. I am Clint Van Landingham the third, my good man. Evil Mike could not be joined with me here tonight. Unfortunately, his job is trying to slowly murder him with long work hours, but my thoughts are with Mike at this very moment. But tonight is a very special day, very special occasion, in a very special universe. This is the Seaververse. I am joined here tonight with the man, the myth, the legendarily moist, Chris Seaver. How you doing, man?
Hello, thank you. Oh, that was wonderful. That was a great little intro there.
I'm glad you like it. I was a little nervous about that. I
No,
had a
that
hell
was
of a lot
fun.
I had a lot of fun making it. And I knew you liked ska. So
Of course.
yeah, I like a little bit of ska myself. Not nearly so much as you, but
Yeah.
since I'm on the subject, what was your introduction to ska, and what really turned you onto it so much?
So I mean, it was the '80s. Growing up in the '80s, I've talked about this before, but my mom and my aunts and uncles listened to a wide variety of music. Obviously, the '80s were crazy with awesome different styles of music, and I was sort of inundated with all of that stuff. So before I even knew what the word was, um, I was listening to ska because of those people in my life. You know, in particular, my aunt and uncle, my aunt Suzanne and Uncle John. Um, they were all over the map with their musical styles, and ska was one of them. Also, really big into Oingo Boingo, who sort of they straddled the line of ska, new wave, you know, alternative weird rock, um, and they had a lot of ska on their sets, and so I listened to a lot of Boingo Boingo because of them. But the Specials and Madness, my first record ever, uh, my mom got me a Madness greatest hits, um, and so and that was Uh, I had gotten tapes, of course, like growing up. Like my first cassette tape was the Thriller album. But
Oh,
as far
nice.
as like albums, vinyls are concerned, uh, yeah, she got me Madness for like a present, like a birthday present or something.
That's
Uh,
cool.
and
Yeah, you
so I didn't know the term ska until 1993 when I got turned on to the Mighty Mighty Boss Tone. Um, and they had a video on 120 Minutes, which was on MTV,
I remember that show.
and it was late night. Um, and the song "Someday I Suppose" from their album "Don't Know How to Party," which was released in '93, and that I was like, "Well, wait, these guys sound like all these other bands that I know, and I really like them." And so I started to get their albums and their back catalog and realized that, oh wait, reading the liner notes and everything, and I was like, wait, okay, this is called ska. This music has been around forever, like way past the '70s. So I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
shit. And then that's really, you know,
Wow.
it just kind of took off even more from there.
That's cool. And now it ends up in all of your movies.
Since then, I mean, it was
Yeah.
in my first films.
Yeah.
You my in my early '90s films, I was shoving Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and stuff in there. In fact, I was just watching something that I hadn't seen in years, which was a flick we did called Bloody Bobby. Um,
Oh,
like early, like 92, 93, that type of stuff. And in the movie is some Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. But I
nice.
hadn't seen the footage in forever, and so it was nice to see again after so long.
That's cool that you still have it. You can go back and
Well, I
check
don't.
it
I
out.
mean, this was so the masters of those tapes, those VHS tapes, were sold to fans like years ago.
Oh, wow.
Because I had some rabid fans who would pay like anything to have everything that I ever did. Um, and so those masters were sold. The reason I saw it was because in the early '90s, this company called Cemetery Cinema started distributing my stuff through their catalog on VHS, and
I
so they're
remember.
the ones who had those
Yeah, I remember you
tapes.
talking about that. Was that the Todd Cook?
Todd Cook,
Thing? Yeah.
and so Todd and I recently hooked up again, and I just interviewed him for SOV Vigilantes.
Nice.
Um, but he's like, dude, I have all this stuff still. I have it, and I've digitized it and everything. And so he sent me a bunch of my old stuff, and I was like tripping out. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And it was all coming back, and like the words were coming back to me, and I remember everything. Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a friendship I've heard you talk about before, and it sounds to me like it's still paying dividends.
Yeah, 30 years later, it's insane. It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, I heard you talk. You mentioned Oingo Boingo earlier, and immediately I had this thought, this childhood memory of watching Rodney Dangerfield's Back to School,
Yeah.
and their appearance in the middle of that movie playing Dead Man's Party. I think it
Uh-huh.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Legendary. I mean,
yeah,
Boingo was in so much back then. They are my favorite band of all time.
yeah.
But yeah, they're in. I mean, they did the soundtrack to Bachelor Party. They did Summer School. Uh, Obviously, they did Weird Science. I mean, they were all over the place. They're in
Yeah.
Last American Virgin. I mean, they were the
Wow.
crazy California '80s new wave punk ska band.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Wow, your memory of the '80s is way better than mine. I mean, I remember a lot of those things, but I never really made the connections or
Oh,
looked into it enough to know that they did
yeah,
all of that.
I am. Like I can remember. I can't remember past four, but I can remember four and on. Um, and that's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
Um, but I was a pop culture sponge. I really was. And the '80s were incredible, and
yeah,
everything was happening for the first time in ways that we had never seen it before, and things were being thrown at us kids for the first time, thanks to Reagan uh,
oh
letting
yeah,
those restrictions loose a little bit, and so everything started being marketed to us. So I mean, I ate it all up,
yeah, yeah,
and it never left me. So I remember a lot. I remember first theatrical experiences. I mean, I remember almost every theatrical experience I've ever had. Going to the movies. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's stupid. It's useless, to most people.
oh,
Um,
I know what you mean.
but to me, it's magic. It's
Yeah, I have a lot of things that are stuck in my brain that will never leave. Some of which are from the '80s. I do remember a lot of movie experiences from that time, but I feel like I was kind of half asleep because, like I said, your memory of it is way better than mine. And we're not that far apart in age. Like you're what, 77? I
Yep.
was 70. I was 78. So yeah. But man, I don't have nearly the retention of all that cool stuff. A few things. Maybe we'll talk about it here in a little bit.
I mean, I wish I didn't, because like I wanna go back there so bad. I
Yeah.
mean, that's part. I mean, it's part of the curse of being this '80s obsessed person. Like it's like it, I listen. I love my life now. I love all the people in it. I love my family. I love my friends. But if I were given the chance, if somebody said, "Hey, man, I just invented time travel. You want to do this?" I'd be like, Golly.
Yeah, you'd be like Michael Biehn in Terminator. Just rip your clothes off and go through. I got you.
Yeah, yeah, as long as I could come back, as long as I could still be with my family and friends and everything, but
Sure.
you better believe I would go back and visit as much as I could.
Yeah,
I
I
love
can.
love it, you know?
Yeah, I can think of times like that. I would like. So, I mean, where are we at? Is this 33 years or is it 34 years of filmmaking?
33 years this year.
33 years.
Years, yep.
All right. One of the things that I noticed that I actually kind of admire really is you seem to be honest with yourself um, about your films and your craft, as it were. You're the only filmmaker that I can think of who somewhat recommends his catalog in the reverse order. Like somebody, like for example, somebody will mention a movie, and you're like, maybe don't start with that one. And
Yeah, yeah.
and I was just curious um, why you feel that way, and when was it that you started to feel that way about your work?
Uh, I mean, well, one, you're right. I've always known this stuff is trash. We dibl I am such a fan of B movies and garbage films and just, you know,
Yeah.
shitty movies.
They have a charm, they really do.
Yeah, they're super fun.
Yeah,
It's just a group of people with a passion and they want to do it and they went out there and they did it. And um I've always sort of loved that. I've, you know, been cognizant of that and I'm not stupid in what we do. I know what we're doing. I write the stuff. I know exactly the kind of stupidity that is happening in these things. Um but even with how stupid and how shitty and ridiculous and over the top this stuff is, I can get down on it for sure. And so, I'll tell people, listen, out of the 60 plus movies and shorts I've made, features and shorts, I don't like a lot of them. And I think it's just, they just it didn't translate from page to screen. I cared a little bit about more a little more too much about one thing than the other. Listen, I'm not my movies don't look the greatest. Um, I mean, they have since 2000, I don't know, maybe 2008 on, they started to look a little better. But before that, I didn't care as much about any of that stuff. I cared
yeah,
more about the the writing and how the characters were pulling it off and the comedy and all that stuff. That's all I really cared about. I didn't, you could shine a flashlight on somebody and that's my light. Like I didn't care about what the movies looked like. And I guess until I like saw them put together, until I've like sitting there editing them, like again, there's a lot of times where I'm just sitting editing my movies and I'm like upset with myself for letting that shit slide, you know?
yeah.
Regardless of how funny the material is, um, it can it can get to me. So I don't recommend a lot of my movies.
uh, I got you.
Uh, but there's enough that I've made where I can like cherry pick and say, you know what, I'm pretty happy with this overall. Um, I'll put this on the list as one of the good ones.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I'll recommend those. But I was just watching there was something, I don't know, what was it? Maybe it was Sex Squatch, which which I loved making and was almost 100% what was written. Um, but I recently watched it showing somebody who had never really seen my stuff before. And watching it this time, I was like, mm, that should have been different. I wouldn't have kept that. I was like picking it apart. Like, comedy wise and like line delivery wise. And I mean,
Mhm.
Clint Kelly, who shoots
Yeah,
the majority of my movies, he did a great job with it. So it was more the lines and the delivery and stuff that I was really like picking apart and saying, why do I do that? I shouldn't have done that. That shouldn't have stayed in. Um, and
yeah,
I had the power, but we did that in 2012. I was the way I usually edit is I edit so fast. Like sometimes we can shoot a movie and then a week later the edit's done because I'm
I
like
gotcha.
because I'm so excited and I want to get it done and I'll do
Yeah.
it really fast. And that can clearly be a detriment sometimes. So, you
Okay.
know, but I got about 10 movies I could recommend you that out of the 60 something that I don't really like.
Well, I may have watched some of them. Gearing up for this, I just made it my mission to watch as many of your movies as I possibly could. And I see what you're saying. Some of the older ones, the quality's not quite maybe what you wanted it to be, and there was definitely like an up curve on what they looked like, moving into your more modern stuff. But I mean, even going back, there's definitely some worthwhile things, some maybe not incredible stories, but really cool gags and jokes and stuff like that. So I mean, um,
Yeah, that's another thing. The stories like this, it's we're in a. I mean, we've sort of always been in a world where like, um, as creatives go, where it's really few and far between uh, where there's an original story nowadays, like something that you just truly have never really heard about. Every story in some fashion has been recycled
oh yeah,
over and over and over again. It's just the way that you yourself, that filmmaker, tackles it, and that's what makes that story special. For me, the stories are the most rudimentary of a Chris Seaver film. It's the thin line that's keeping everything together. As long as you get from point A to point B, I don't like the story doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't. I choose
right.
to have the most thin stories as possible. And obviously, I care more about the gags, the jokes, how it's delivered, the characters, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for
get
sure.
in and get out. I'm a big, proponent of get the fuck in, give them a couple laughs, and get out as fast as you can. Uh, and I'm like that with any sort of like no low budget independent film. I think you start hitting, I would say 80 minutes, 90 minutes, definitely past that. I
Yeah.
think you have a rough road ahead trying to keep the audience engaged.
Oh, agreed, agreed.
So
That's one of those things that I've noticed because, like, for a couple of years now, I've kind of been just like digesting a lot of the indie scene and watching a lot of local movies and things like that. And the ones who really seem to put out the best ones are the ones that like know what they have and they let the movie be what it's going to be. Like they don't force it to be like a feature length film.
yeah, yeah,
I find a lot of times that's a mistake. They either didn't have the budget or not enough story, not enough footage, and it drags on. And I'm like, okay, this could have been 20 minutes shorter.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
especially with my stuff, you know what I mean? Like the comedy can wear on you, uh, so it's best to get out. I mean, listen, I do have some movies that are 80 minutes. We've got one movie that's 90 minutes, but we've got a couple of 80s, we've got a couple of 75s, and even that is really pushing it. The
yeah.
90-minute one, which is Deathbone, should not have been 90 minutes. That that was a case of, well, we shot it, so let's throw everything into it.
Yeah.
And it suffers for that. But
Yeah.
everything else, I think, sweet
Yeah.
spot's like 70. Get the
Yeah.
fuck out.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah. That's doable. Deathbone's a great character, by the way.
Great character. Billy's hilarious, and
yeah, I love his Rambo impersonation. I enjoyed him very much in Moist Fury. I learned how much trouble you can get into with a stolen Toblerone.
right.
And what his third favorite hole is. So
Right.
I feel like I learned a lot about Deathbone in that movie.
Yeah, he
The vagina is my third favorite hole.
shows up in Geek War as well,
Uh-huh.
and of course his own movie.
Yeah.
And then he is a major character in the movie that we made for Trauma that we
Don't talk about. Okay. Yeah, I saw Geek War. I like that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's one that I do recommend.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, you said that you don't like to talk about that one movie. Are there any movies that you have that you really don't like to talk about, or like when people bring it up, you're like,
And I mean that's like that Trauma movie is at this point it's so I mean we shot it in 2009, so it's more like us fluffing up. We're exaggerating, our hatred for it. I mean, we do hate it, but we could talk about it. I mean, obviously we do. We talk about it. We talk about it in the documentary.
oh yeah,
But it's even. I mean, the longer cut, it's even longer in there, and I'm glad he cut it because it's such a. It just doesn't matter anymore. And
yeah,
I think Zach was trying to find some sort of drama to
yeah,
throw in there when there really wasn't a lot, and that's the most
yeah,
dramatic thing. That was probably the most dramatic time making a film. Um but yeah, it was just that Trauma movie was just a shit show. It was just really
mhm.
a huge mistake, and Lloyd uh, he just turned into something else, and it really put a big old hex on that film.
I got you.
So it just overall it was just a really terrible experience.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'd like to put a finer point on the documentary, if I'm being honest. So we've run into each other three separate occasions at the Gettysburg Creature Feature weekend,
Mhm.
which of course is a horror convention in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you do a lot of cons, but I
Yeah,
think
I've been going to horror conventions since 1993
mhm.
and selling since 96. And we go all over the place. Yeah, all over the
Okay,
country. We've been all over the place at the really super big ones. We've done shows that 50 people show up,
yeah,
like run the gamut.
yeah,
But yeah, horror conventions are a huge part of how we've been able to reach so many people as well
yeah,
outside of the distribution.
right,
Um, but that's the most fun and the best way to meet the fans and get new fans. That's my favorite part of it
yeah,
is the convention
yeah. That seems like a really good way to kind of hit or find your target audience.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this last creature feature was not a good one for us because of what we were trying to promote. But I
All right.
knew going in, I knew from the get go that it was going to be a tough sell. So it wasn't like a disappointment really,
Hmm.
because I knew the outcome, and that just won't happen again. It's just that simple.
Oh, huh.
What? Wellsville Nights is not a horror convention thing.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Well,
Um,
that's good, but we'll never have Wellsville Nights at another horror.
maybe there weren't enough 40 somethings in the audience, but it definitely spoke to me in a special way. So I remember a lot of that stuff, watching after school specials, or like Degrassi Junior High, and I just loved like the screwed up looks that people made at the camera, the like the slow zoom ins,
So dramatic.
the gags.
And that was the tamest episode.
Yeah.
What we have coming up is pretty hilarious.
That's cool. So I did talk to one of your stars, Evan Miller, at the table, and I was like, "Where'd you pick up those sweet guitar licks?" And I was like, "Self-taught." And he's like, "I was told to play badly," and
Right.
and we talked about his sweet Ibanez acoustic electric guitar there for a couple of minutes. And he said, I love it when he introduces this thing places. He says, everybody's in their mid-40s. I'm 27.
I know. Because it's just easy. I'm not going to say 20, 30, 40-year-olds. I just keep it at 40. Most of us in the show are over 40. But he also doesn't look 15, which is,
No, of course not. Showing up with his long hair and his Michael McDonald beard. You know what I mean?
And he's the youngest in the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know where it was going at first, but I was like, there's got to be something going on with these moon rocks.
That's right.
They keep coming up.
More than meets the eye.
Yeah, that's right.
So what goes on in those moon rocks is integral to the entire arc of the show. Unfortunately, you don't really see a lot of that in the first episode, which is also sort of a detriment to the horror elements. But
yeah. Oh,
they come in later.
Yeah. No, that's okay. And I know that you're planning maybe a couple seasons worth of episodes.
Listen, man. I mean, it's been a struggle just getting this first season off the ground. I mean, I would think that it's probably going to take another, in addition to what we're going to be able to shoot this summer, it'll probably take another couple of years before we get to finish the first season, which is only 8 episodes.
Right.
But right now we can safely shoot another 2 episodes with the budget that we have.
Yeah.
We're hoping that by the time the campaign is over, we can at least do one more so that we can end it half of the first season and then throw those first 4 episodes up on Tubi and YouTube and just get like an audience going, have everybody promote it and see if we can later raise enough to make the next 4 down the road,
Yeah.
2025 is not a year of Wellsville Nights. 2025, we've got, 4 other films that are ready to rock and roll, and we're going to concentrate on those. And then let Wellsville Nights do its thing on the streaming and see what happens after that. But
yeah, very cool. Well, I did get a copy of it, and I did watch it again since I got it. And there's a couple of special features on it that are pretty cool, like your PSAs and stuff. I do recommend it to anybody who's watching.
It all started on the first day of 9th grade. And what my friends have been through will change our lives forever.
Sometimes it's hard to be seen.
Was that Kyle Kilpatrick talking to you?
I have never been so damp.
Do you have an absorbent pad to sop up my juices?
You don't leave home without it. I'm shocked that kid is still in school.
I hope you're using protection.
Listen, protection is for the weak. I'm only 15, and I'm not getting any younger.
This is our chance. Our band, the Mossy Clefs, are gonna blow the roof off of this place.
The gang's all here. There's nothing that we can't do when we're together.
It is gonna be a great year. Yeah!
For the first time in my life, I am terrified of the future.
Do you know who I am? Do you know who my father is?
You're Vanity Van Brunt. Your father is Brazilianaire James Van Brunt, and that is one of the cache of moon rocks your father got rich off of. If you really want to get your lips tugged, you go to the place where 5s of 10s of kids go every weekday and weekend, the Boulevard.
Huh? You both? Did you get a good look at her sexy Canadian insides, Nick?
What's that supposed to mean?
I thought I knew you!
Great! I try to be nice to the hot foreign new girl, and this is the thanks I get from my own girlfriend?
You can't go walking around with that expensive moon rock. It distracts from the other kids and the teachers who should be doing their work.
Any ideas for the big talent show at the end of the year?
I could show up one of my moon rocks.
I've never been one to believe in the paranormal, supernatural, or monsters from our wildest and wettest fantasies, but I do believe my own eyes. I have seen some poop.
Whatever it is, we'll do it as a team, together, as a group, as friends, as companions, as a gathering, as a fellowship, as a concoction of atoms and DNA, as a cornucopia of mischief makers.
And I thought high school was going to be the best time of our lives.
And also, if you wanted to help out in some way, there is a GoFundMe out there. And I'm going to screen share for a second because I want to bring this up so we can see it. So clearly, this is the intro video. Over here is donations that have been made. Here's a general idea what the thing's about. You can watch the videos to get to know the cast. And I'm pretty sure you can also find the PSA videos I was talking about.
Yeah, they're down there.
Yeah.
If you click the read more.
Oh, that's right. There it is.
This video here, this 30-minute, it really goes through exactly what the show is, like bit for bit, so you know going in what you're getting into. We don't want to, we don't want to fool an audience,
right?
And it's because the show is so niche and specific. We just want everyone to be aware of what this thing is, and that's probably why we're not the most successful crowd because it is such a niche, odd thing.
Yeah.
Not many people are doing this. And that's I think that's always sort of been an issue with me, because if I get an idea and I think it's funny and then I run it by everybody else and they can get on board, then we're going to do it regardless of an audience,
Oh, for sure.
So, we're going to have a lot better luck when we start the campaign for Radikill, since that's more in the wheelhouse of what everyone sort of, likes, indie shot on video horror films. And certainly with Chris Seaver films, it's a straight up comedy horror movie.
I gotcha.
So I think we'll have way more luck with Radikill than we will Hellsville Nights.
I don't know, but I love Bobby's wig there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to make an appearance in the in any of the episodes, but
he is. Yes.
Oh, excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. Yep.
Yeah, Bobby. Bobby, when he comes up and we're doing a movie, he's in it in some way. He's always behind the scenes. If he's not, if he's not doing something, then I do throw him in the background. Or if he doesn't have like a main character, he's just thrown in as a random person. But Bobby. I've known Bobby since 1999. I used to live with him. And, yeah. And we've seen since '99. Bobby and I have seen each other every single year. We don't live close to each other. He lives on Long Island. I live in New York. But we always made it happen. Even if it's just me going down there, We hang out for 5 days and watch movies and shoot and just stick around. He comes up for 5 days, watches movies. That's just how it's been since 1999.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. I'd love to say I had lasting friendships like that. I'd be a liar if I did. Yeah. But that's nice. That's
Yeah, most of these guys that have been in this group with me for over 20 years. It's
yeah.
pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And some of the original members of Low Budget Pictures, when I started it in '91, I did a Blu-ray called Fan Film Frights, which is a collection of a bunch of the fan films we used to do back in the early '90s, when Low Budget Pictures started. And for that disc, I was able to track down a lot of the original members of LBP, who I hadn't personally talked to in probably 27 years at that point. And I shot a whole bunch of interviews with all of them, and it was incredible. It was really amazing. It was like no time had passed. We were still the same idiots and joking about the same dumb shit, and it was awesome. And they were so like, man, Chris, like we never, we didn't doubt you. You said you were going to make movies, and you just did. You just kept going. So they thought it was pretty cool that I was still here doing it.
Yeah.
And they had a small part. Well, they were there for 9 years of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
That's amazing. Yeah. You seem to have surrounded yourself with a pretty good crew. I mean, I see a lot of the same faces over and over again in your movies. And I've heard you on occasion say that, say they're not really actors, but to me, they really are, because it's
yeah, they've gotten pretty great. And I guess that's part of it too, is just the more that they do with me, the more that they were able to hone their performances, and their talent really comes out. Even they might not have known they even had that talent.
Yeah.
And some of them are just naturally like fucking hilarious. It's just like you feed them these words and they just magically bring them to life in the best way possible. So
yeah, it takes a lot of talent, in my opinion, to be so over the top and crazy, and honestly, to deliver some of these ridiculous lines without breaking. Like,
there's a lot of takes,
Are there?
Like, oh yeah, I mean, there's something specifically in Moist Fury.
Okay.
It took Billy 17 takes because he was laughing so goddamn hard. And that's the line about vaginas are gross. They look like Willem Dafoe.
Vaginas are gross. They look like Willem Dafoe.
And so he's reading that and he's cracking the fuck up. But then we start shooting, and he just could not do it. And he was making us laugh, and then it just kept but 17 takes, he finally got it without laughing. But yeah, sometimes it's a chore, man.
Yeah.
And what I do is I'm actually the worst culprit, because what happens is I don't do a lot of drafts of the film. When I'm writing, it's maybe 2 drafts, and then I don't look at it again until we're doing like a read through, or we're sometimes right before I say action. And so I won't remember what I write, and the actor will start doing the character, and I'll just blurt out laughing like in the middle of their take, because I'm just like, what? I forgot I wrote this.
Yeah. That's funny. Looks like Willem Dafoe. Yeah. That's not the only time I've ever heard Willem Dafoe mentioned in one of your movies. I think I remember it in the Dingleberries also.
Yes,
it's kind of like their version of God, Willem Dafoe. which I also got a copy of that last time we saw each other. So, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that they're all hands,
Oh yeah.
that they just jump in with both feet. And Meredith was like probably Meredith was the most, like, she was farthest from being an actress at all. She just, I just pulled her into that 12 inches of dangling fury, like out of the, just like, oh, you want to do it? And she was like, absolutely not. Like, no, no, I'll watch them and I'll hang out, but I'm not being in it. But
Yeah.
once she did it, she got better and better and better. I mean, it was incredible to watch her really commit to it. And I mean, now she's just one of the staples. I mean, she's
Oh, for
fantastic,
sure.
you know.
Yeah.
She's a
Yeah.
great straight woman. She's so good at playing those parts.
Yeah.
And not that she can't do the over the top, because she's played, Queen of the Sex Demons as well, in the Filthy McNasty movies. So she
Yeah.
knows how to get crazy and weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's an MVP.
Yeah. I didn't realize I was getting it when I bought this, but I think in the special features is a short of 12 inches of dangling fury. And I checked that out on here, and I didn't realize that was her first thing that she did for you.
Yeah, 2002.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then in 2004 when we did the first Heather and Pugly Drop a Deuce, I almost canceled that, but she was the one who pushed it. She was raring to go. She was all about it. She was studying her lines. She was just so into it, and she's just been such a valuable person in the group.
Oh, definitely. It wouldn't be the same without her.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Not at
I've
all.
seen her in so many things now.
But she's behind the scenes. She is the den mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I sort of labeled her that early on because lots of people, listen, when we all get together, the we don't want to make a movie when we're all together. We want to have fun. We want to hang out. We want to watch movies. We want a slumber party. That's what we want to do.
Right.
And so there are times where people just don't listen to me, regardless of how many times we've done these movies together. It's like yelling at a brick wall to get these people to do anything, but not for Meredith. So I doled out Meredith, you're going to be you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And she does it. And she makes sure everybody is up and at 'em and where they're supposed to be. And, yeah, she doesn't fuck around.
Kind of like your assistant director. Everybody needs a good one.
Yeah. And she's one of the best,
Before I get too far away from Wellsville Nights, I did want to mention one thing. I noticed very early in the movie, or I'm sorry, the pilot episode, that there was an appearance of a character for about 3 seconds on screen, and it hit my brain, and immediately I went, "Was that Ernest?"
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something funny. I did not know that you did an Ernest fan film until I made friends with a mutual friend of ours, Mo Volpe, in Oregon, who does the Shockaholics YouTube channel, which you've been on at least a couple of times, I think.
Yeah. Boy, does he love that short.
And he told me a good bit about the Blue Cheese Brothers, and I was just curious, is it possible for anybody to secure a copy of that?
Yeah, that's it's LBP Classics Volume 7.
Ah.
So we did put it out. It's out with another short we did called Teen Ape and Bubbles. 'Twas the Funk Before Christmas. So it is there is a double feature, and it was remastered actually.
Remastered.
Yeah,
See.
but it's terrible. I mean, it was an afternoon, and we
Uh-huh.
just shot this ridiculous, over the top, gross, silly, weird, earnest fan film. No self-respecting earnest fan should see this film. It is not a family-friendly film.
Uh,
But in my personal life and in a lot of the group's personal lives, we love Ernest. We love Jim Varney. And so there's a lot of earnest things that happen uh, throughout the films, and we have Ernest marathons and stuff
yeah.
like
Oh, I love Ernest.
Yeah.
I've seen
He was
more
a
than one of
treasure.
his movies in the theater. I loved going to see, Ernest Goes to Camp. Saw that with like my cousins and my sister, and it's kind of like a family event.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's just something magical about him lighting a toilet on fire and catapulting it.
Yeah, I saw the first 5 Ernest films
Yeah.
at theater, and then they went straight to video
Ah.
because 5 tanked them. I remember it only made $1 million when it came out.
Oh no.
And at the end of Ernest Rides Again, there was a trailer for Ernest Goes to School, and that was supposed to be the next theatrical release. So, me in the theater, I hated Ernest Rides Again. I was like, this was a fucking terrible film. But then the trailer started for Goes to School, and I was like, they're gonna redeem it. It's back. It's happening. And then it went straight to video, and it tanked the theatrical releases. But
Yeah, that's a shame.
But those
Yeah.
first 4, whew,
Oh, they were magical.
can't touch them.
Yeah. No, you can't.
Man, they fucking make me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
He was a genius.
Yeah, he was. He's a comedic genius. I remember the TV show.
Oh yeah,
Um,
TV show. So in the early '80s, his commercials would play all the fucking time on our channel WPIX, which was out of New York. Like they would play those Ernest, slinging whatever he was slinging back then. And my great grandfather loved it.
Yeah.
And it took a lot to make my great grandfather laugh. But Ernest made him laugh. Those commercials were, yeah.
They were perfect. Yeah. Speaking of things that won't leave your brain, that was one of those things that I remember vividly, was the Ernest TV show. And I think it was the very first episode where throughout the entire thing, Dr. Otto, had this contraption that was counting down on the like a digital timer of some sort, and Ernest is freaking out thinking it's a bomb that's going to explode or something like that. And when it finally gets down to 0, it has a toaster in it, and just toast pops out of it, and he just goes, "Burnt toast," and Dr. Otto's like, "Perfectly burnt toast," and that will never leave my brain ever. And that is why to this day, sometimes I will say perfectly burnt toast for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So anyhow, so yeah, some of our other interactions at the Gettysburg Creature Feature. I don't think I saw anything that was showing last year, but I did stop by your table and I got a couple of things, like the Anal Paprika trilogy, and I also got the Stoinky Saga, and the lovely Olivia Young did me the nice favor of rubbing this across her beautiful breast.
Of course she did.
And she wrote, "I dragged my tits on this like a dog with its ass on a rug." So this will forever be precious to me.
Olivia's something else. Is something else.
She absolutely is.
She's got a big episode coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like I said, I'm hoping that we get to do episodes 2, 3, and 4. We are 100% doing episodes 2 and 3. But man, I would love to do 4. But episode 3 is per episode, and it's ridiculous.
Well,
Yeah, so she's really gonna get to shine.
yeah. Well, I look forward to that. I'm gonna have to stay connected to all of your social media and stuff, and make sure I get updates on these things. And how long's the fundraiser still up for this thing?
So we are ending the fundraiser at the end of this month, and that's because we're getting too close to full-on pre-production, where I'm gonna have to really start spending money and getting things 100% locked.
Mhm.
And I just can't. I can't rely on a fundraiser any longer. I just can't.
Right.
So we're gonna have to make do with what we have, and do what we can, and get things 100% locked and loaded.
Yeah.
Some things are right now, but some of the major things aren't yet, and we can't until this campaign ends. And we're shooting at the end of July.
Nice.
So there's a lot to get done.
Oh yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
if we're shooting 3 episodes.
Yeah.
The dates are already locked. Plane tickets are already bought. Transportation is happening. It's happening. It's just we don't know if it's going to be 2 or 3 yet.
Yeah.
And how much money we'll actually get to spend on the things we really need to spend on. So
Yeah.
So yes.
Well,
So come June 1st, the campaign's over.
Okay.
Heavy pre-production begins.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see you get a little bit more, so I'm going to share the fundraiser a couple more times. I'm going to get this interview out fast, and hopefully, what few people watch my nonsense, maybe they'll generate some interest in it.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. I did want to mention the first time that I ran into you at a con. That was the year that Bobby premiered his Victim No More Friday the 13th fan film, or a tribute film, as he calls it,
Yes.
which was pretty kick-ass. I've watched that thing so many times now. But also,
I was supposed to be in that.
Were you?
Yeah, the character that Sean Jordan plays, the brother who gets killed.
Oh, really?
That was me. That was written for me.
Oh,
I had a funeral that I had to go to.
Well,
And
there had to be a.
They're like, well, Sean will do it. Next best thing, because Sean, Sean is part of the family as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's great. Actually, I met him before I even knew that he was a part of your crew.
Yeah, man, he's been with us since 2000, the end of 2009.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he had a pretty big part in the Dingleberries, didn't he?
He's in a lot of the movies. Yeah, he's in a bunch of them.
Yeah, he looks like a child with short hair, but I mean, but yeah, I remember running into him at a con. Well, he's at all the cons, really, because that's part of his business. He sells all those VHS to disc copies and so forth.
VHS PS, baby.
Yeah. And I had him sign a poster of a movie that he was in. I bought it at the con, and I was like, "We're gonna watch this, but I need you to sign the poster." It was Attack of the Killer Chickens. So I don't, which is, it's all right. But but I also at the con where I saw Victim No More is where I saw the documentary Zero Budget Heroes, and I wanted to bring that up because I feel like this is almost like the quintessential, like, must own thing, if you're truly a Seaver fan, you know what I mean? Because there is so much information in this about the history of low budget pictures and, Warlock Home Video, and just things I didn't know, interesting stuff, behind the scenes footage. And although I was checking out the special features, and I don't think I saw any like real Wellsville footage. Didn't you guys shoot a bunch of stuff in your hometown?
That's on. That was on the original. He put out like a limited, like 2-disc set of the doc, and that's what that was on. I think he only made 50 of them.
Okay.
and that's on that set.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I wish so. Like, you know, Zach, for being his first movie, he didn't really like go out there and promote it much. Like, it's kind of disheartening because he really is just kind of it's done. I mean, he moved on. I mean, he doesn't promote it. He's just like, oh, it's on Tubi, whatever. Like uh, it's being the subject of it. I'm kind of like, dude, like, come on, like, get out there. And even at the convention, he barely was
Yeah.
saying anything to anybody. Like, it
Uh,
was just like, dude, like, come
Zach
on,
seems
man.
he seems kind of a reserved guy.
Yeah,
I
but so truth be told, it hasn't really helped us much in the way of
yeah.
a lot of. I mean, we certainly have gotten some people who saw the doc and wanted to seek us out and wanted to get more movies, but he for some reason he won't do like actual distribution for the Blu-ray for the physical copy. I don't know why. Um,
Oh, that's
he
gotta
hasn't
change.
really. Yeah, man. Like more people need to see this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's not my movie, so I can't really do anything about that. But I
Yeah.
wish. Other than that, Zach is an amazing person. He is so loyal, and I'm glad that he accosted me to do the doc, and I'm glad I finally said yes.
Yeah.
Because he did a tremendous job. I
It's an
mean,
amazing.
he spent 3 years of his life doing
Yeah.
that thing, all of his own money.
Wow.
Making some stupid, you know, nobody, be the subject of an incredible documentary. Like
Yeah. It's a great documentary. Did and I wanted to make another observation. The doc's good. It's very in depth. It doesn't shy away from anything. Like characters you regret or movies you wish you hadn't made.
oh yeah,
Um, did you find the interview process therapeutic at all?
um,
Because I thought I saw kind of a catharsis at one point, where like you were working through something, and I almost thought I saw like a sign of relief just getting it out. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I guess
Yeah.
that was all a blur, really. How he was doing that and when he was grabbing me to do it, and
Okay.
it was so all over the place. Like I said, it was 3 years, and so
Yeah.
he would sort of jump back into it. And almost every time I was at a different place mentally. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think after I saw it, it really hit home.
Yeah.
There's, I think there's, even after watching it, I changed sort of how I feel about myself and how I feel about the films in general,
Yeah.
in a more positive light. Because I've also been very like down on the whole thing.
Mhm.
Um, but ultimately, I think I said yes because I wanted a time capsule of all these people, all these humans that mean so much to me, um, and what they've done for me. I really wanted I was like, this is the perfect thing that encapsulates this giant part of my life with these tremendously amazing human beings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
ultimately why I said yes, and
Okay.
he accomplished it.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not a joke when everybody says, we're like family. We really are. When we don't do movies, we do this thing called Gash Bash every year where for 5 days we all get together and we do nothing but swim, watch movies, grill, and they all sleep at my house. Like it's it's just like
Awesome.
so we always see each other. Um, and we make sure we do. That's like a thing that we just do. Um, and so, yes, these are my son has grown up with these people. Like he doesn't care that we make movies. He doesn't give a shit. But he considers them his family. Like
That's
that's insane to
amazing.
me. It's so cool.
Yeah, that is amazing.
You know, so
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest reason why I love the movie. But I gotta say, he came out. So Zach came out from Seattle, and he showed us a cut
Uh-huh.
of the doc when we were celebrating the 30th anniversary of Low Budget Pictures, and we were all together, and some of that ended up on the final doc. But and so he sat us down, and he was nervous. He's like, uh, "Here's a almost 3-hour cut of this thing," um, and he just let it go, and it was like, Chris Seaver, this is your life, because it really does go from 77 until the present. And I was even shocked at some of the stuff that he got in there, some of the
Yeah.
footage, some of the pictures, some of the people he talked to. I just was not aware of, you know, 80% of what was happening with this film because it just wasn't my movie, it was Zach's.
Yeah.
So it was very surreal. Um, it was more heartwarming than I thought it was going to be because I
Yeah.
really thought it was just going to be like a riot fest. It was just going to be like a buffoon fest, knowing all of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very cool. And at the end of it, I was kind of like blown away at what he did, you know.
Yeah.
And then even from that 3-hour cut to get it down to the cut it is now, he managed to not lose anything that was important.
Yeah.
And that impressed me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just I wish more people would see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll definitely push it because
And even it's fuck my movies. Regardless of that, it's the 14-year-old who happens to see it, the 15-year-old who happens to see it and says, I want to make movies. And
Yeah.
the documentary is like, holy shit, these guys just literally picked up a camera and just started doing it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
That
it's
is fun.
inspirational.
Yeah. The same
Yeah.
way that all those shot on video horror pioneers did it to me.
Yeah.
In the late 80s, the reason why I kept going and making backyard movies is because of those people.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to end up, being friends and working with a lot of those directors from back then. It's insane to me.
That is insane. It's amazing. You've had a great ride.
Yeah.
And it's not over.
No, man. Much to my chagrin, it just keeps going. I can't stop it. I just can't.
I was that cliche media raised child.
He's the one who's creating all the characters and writing it and directing everybody and filming. He filmed every movie by himself.
Before anything like Tim and Eric or Eric Andre show, it's like, what the hell am I watching?
This is his way of expressing himself. This is something that he's done his entire adult life and most of his early adult life.
I remember calling it Low Budget Pictures.
Scene 2, take 2.
If you want something clean and slick, these are not for you. I might even call them boner comedies.
Chris writes what he writes. It's always ludicrous.
This is like an alien trying to make sex jokes. It's amazing.
Yeah, you were in this weird movie that was on Netflix. Thanks. I don't know what to say.
Damn you! It's not really a narrative. It's more almost like experimental film in a way.
It's my way of making movies.
I'm a bad actress, which is part of why I was picked for this.
Then again, I guess we're all terrible in Chris's movies.
Low budget pictures.
Yeah. Very cool.
And you can either get on board or not.
That's right.
Like, that's the thing. It's just like Chris Seaver movies are, you either love them or hate them. There's really not a bunch of in between when it comes to scrotal vengeance. You can either get it or not, and it's not my problem.
That's right. That's right.
We just make what we make.
Yep.
And Love it or hate it.
Yeah. Well, I was late to this, and I'm glad I was introduced to it because I've seen a lot of fun, worthwhile things, and here we are talking together. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's some of the best. Like that still kind of gets me as well. Like just at my age, doing this so long to still have new people discover this stuff is really wow to me, you know. Because as far as I was concerned, I've been done years ago. My career is whatever career it was is just not a career anymore. It's just over. So the random people who are still like, "Hey, man, I saw this and this was hilarious, and thanks for making this. I want to see more." That type of stuff. That it's a blessing, and Crom looks down upon us and he says, "Crom, you Seaver, you make these stupid movies and people love them. They will like them and they will come to you." Crom.
For sure. Absolutely.
Thank you, Crom.
Crom is wonderful. Crom is good. Yep. Well, I'm going to wrangle you for a couple more things before we do that. I think it's a good time to take a word from our sponsor. Tonight's episode is brought to us by Enor's Mountain Cooler. Enor's Mountain Cooler. It's a cool, refreshing, performance-enhancing beverage bottled on the moist, voluptuous mountain slopes near the Ski Wolf Lodge. Enor's Mountain Cooler. Bring out your inner wolf. And I have a little bit of it here.
That's
it's got a funny color.
That is so funny.
Interesting smell.
Bobby will love that.
Tastes like carbonated piss. Patent pending. Anyhow, I've been enjoying your YouTube channel, if I'm being honest.
Oh, excellent.
So you mentioned SOV Vigilantes. I watched a couple episodes of that. Haven't seen them all yet. That seems like it's early in its development.
Yeah.
Of course, you do that with Clint Kelly and Andrew Baltus. And those are cool guys I've seen in a bunch of your stuff. Like you said, Clint Kelly does a lot of your shooting.
Mm-hmm.
That is the entire reason that I watched a little movie on Tubi called Never Too Young to Die. You may have seen in my intro video, I had a nice little blurb from that. John Stamos jumping on a trampoline. Is this the movie that concreted John Stamos into your psyche?
No. I mean, I didn't see Never Too Young to Die until, way after Full House.
I got you.
I mean, I had seen him as fucking Blackie on General Hospital growing up and stuff like that.
But, right.
It really was Full House that, the Stamos took hold.
Okay.
But boy, I mean, Never Too Young to Die was a revelation. It was so incredible. I mean, that movie is.
it is fucking crazy.
Gene
Simmons is great.
I actually love the film. I know how batshit stupid it is. It is the personification of so bad it's good. I think it's just highly entertaining.
Yeah. One of my favorite things.
So dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb.
One of my favorite things is when they're sitting at that house together and he keeps trying to avoid her advances and keeps walking in the house to get something to drink, and he brings out apple and another piece of fruit.
That's right. That's right. That scene is something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic. But yeah, and we were lucky enough to, because I was such a fan of that stupid movie. I got a hold of the director and was able to convince him to send me his 35 millimeter print of the movie. And in 2011, when we shut down Low Budget Pictures, we did a big sort of farewell marathon at this place called the Palace Theater in Syracuse, New York. And we did a marathon of LBP, and the movie that ended the night was the 35 millimeter Never Too Young to Die. So
that's crazy.
We got to watch it on the big screen, Once in a
incredible.
lifetime, I tell you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I would have jumped at that opportunity. That sounds incredible,
Yeah.
especially now that I know what it is. You
And the
guys talk
Blu-ray
about
is
a lot.
great.
Yeah,
The Blu-ray is wonderful. It's a great print, you know, probably from that 35 millimeter, you know.
I got you. I got you. So you guys talk a lot about shot on video stuff. Like how do you how do you come across these things? I mean, I realized you probably got a lot of stuff out of the back of magazines as a kid, but I mean, like how do like it feels like another world to me, because
So, um, you know, I do talk about it on the doc, and we go into it on this show as well. But um, you know, a lot of these mom and pop video stores actually were renting these movies out. These filmmakers were miraculously cutting deals with producers and companies to be able to release their stuff nationwide on VHS for the direct to home market. And so I could walk into my video connection
uh,
and pick up these titles. And the thing is, like, and the way I explained it was, I'm not 100% sure what I'm picking up because I was just a horror kid. So I'm seeing the front, you know, I'm seeing these covers, which always 9 times out of 10 look badass and they're better than the fucking movie. Um, and so I'm taking it home thinking it's just your run of the mill horror movie, and then
mhm.
realizing that, wait a second, this just looks like a camcorder. You know, this just looks like somebody at the school picked up their camera and started shooting. And that, of course, like fascinated me and excited me. And so really in the late 80s, going into the early 90s, I could readily rent a lot of this stuff. And then through that, I would just seek out their names through like Fangoria or whatever. Just, you know, those names or those titles would randomly pop up, and then you see, oh, you can send away $2 for a catalog, you know, and then oh, there'd be a whole section of direct to video movies, and I would just, you know, save my friggin' allowance and send away and get all these movies from these catalogs. And that's really how it started. That's how I was able to rent, you know, I saw J.R. Bookwalter's The Dead Next Door, and, you know, saw Todd Sheets' Zombie Rampage, and later Zombie Bloodbath, and the Polonia Brothers Splatter Farm, and, you know, stuff like that. But the big one was Redneck Zombies. I rented in 1989 because that was really the most like quote unquote polished of the shot on video stuff. I was like, oh, this looks like it has a little more production value,
Yeah.
um, and it's funny, and that, of course, struck a chord for me. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is exactly the type of movies that I want to make with my camcorder,
Mhm.
um, and so that really helped usher in the LBP thing. You know.
I think I found a cut of Splatter Farm on YouTube.
Yeah.
I saw Redneck Zombie somewhere, like with the I don't know, toxic waste that ended up in the moonshine or something like
Yeah.
that. Was
Uh-huh.
yeah, that was a pretty good flick.
Yeah, man. And Trauma picked it up, and that's how it was able to really get into a lot of places.
I see.
Trauma was the first real distribution for that. And then it was all over the place as far as video stores were concerned.
Right.
You know? But it was pretty wild, and that was another thing that was great about mom and pop video stores, is that they were getting a lot of stuff, you know, that you were just like, how, where is this coming from? How, who do you know that, you know, is but they were ordering from whatever that magazine was, whatever that, you know, distributor was. They might not 100% know what they were ordering either. They just know, oh, I can get 4 copies of this horror movie, you know, for this price, and that's what they were
Yeah.
getting. Luckily, the guys at Video Connection knew what they were doing, and they got wise to it, and so they knew that I was the horror kid, And so any of that stuff that was coming out new, they always told me about. They would show me first, and then they would
Okay.
give me reservation dib. They're like, "Hey, Chris, this is coming. Do you want to reserve it first?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want to reserve this first." And so I always talk about Video Connection, but it's because they really were integral to me and my growth as a movie fan and a filmmaker. They championed everything I was doing. They always let me shoot in there. It was never an issue. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, it was wild. It was just so bizarre, and for a kid like me, fuck, like who was already like making these dumb backyard movies, just like wow, these guys made it. These guys like
Yeah.
to see that they were doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
such a huge inspiration.
Yeah. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, that 100% helped push, me to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll
That's
never,
great.
I'll never not, love what those pioneers did, and a lot of them are still out there doing it to this day, which is incredible.
That is incredible. Yeah. Well, I'm going to take a deeper dive into some of these lower budget shot on video movies because it's like, I know you refer to them as an acquired taste, but it's not a big leap for me. Like, just because I remember renting plenty of things during the VHS days, and not everything was the greatest quality. And there is a charm to it. And some of the I enjoy seeing some of like the low dollar ways that people can do like effects. It's incredible the number of things you can do just while holding the camera. It's not done. Like I think I heard you talk about it on the one episode where you were at you were in Shellaholics. You talked about the trombone like a maneuver, where you're moving one way with the camera and the zoom going another way to get a certain effect.
We were doing that, and we were running. We would have a knife that had a hole in the handle, and we'd put a stick in the hole, and we'd have somebody throw it, and then in front of the camera, somebody would be right outside of the camera going like this, and we'd just run. I mean, all you saw was the knife going like this, so it was really, it was all inventing and coming up with your own shit, and certainly watching the stuff that other filmmakers were doing and picking that up. But I was also like really into Tom Savini, so I got his Grand Illusions books. Anything to do with Tom Savini, I would watch. Any of the documentaries that were out. The Scream Greats doc about him from '86 was phenomenal. Like, yeah, that stuff is also very integral. So, it's just a bunch of fucking kids like coming up with that shit.
Yeah.
All with an over the shoulder camcorder.
I've seen a couple of fishing line tricks. Like in this one.
Oh yeah, well still, yeah. I mean, we were doing it in the '90s. Something that I wish we could do now, but we did back then. We did it. We made our own squibs, which were,
Oh yeah.
Very scary back then, but we didn't.
Little dangerous.
we did it, and they were really effective. And
what do you use? Firecrackers?
So we made these we fashioned this weird like Lego encased big volt batteries, right? And we made this Lego thing that held them, and it held on and off switches.
Okay.
And so from the on and off switches, we attached wire to a toy rocket igniters.
Gotcha.
And it'd have the little gunpowder with the two wires sticking out of it, and we attach the wires to that, to the switches, and then from the switch to the batteries.
Gotcha.
We would tape the igniter into a firecracker, and then we'd tape that onto a blood bag, and we'd take the tops of a soup can, and we'd tape the blood bag to the top of the soup can, tape that to the person, tape the the firework with the wire to that
Wow.
underneath the clothes, and then we clip, 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 and they, you know, and it would,
Whoa.
and it would, and it was awesome. It was so cool, and you can see that in my early work. It's in
Yeah.
my Four Guys Named Mister fan film, and it's in my From Dusk Till Dawn fan film. Like we were shooting people left and right with that stuff back in the day, and it was incredible. It was all just us figuring it out, you know.
That's
Terrible. We
crazy.
did end up burning one of us
Oh.
from it, unfortunately, but that was the only time that a mishap happened. But
Well, hopefully it wasn't severe.
no, I mean, no, he's fine.
Okay, good. um, yeah, I did want to mention it crept from the 80s, which of course is your main YouTube channel. And I like the fact that you have like friends on and guests and so forth, and talk about different movies from the 80s, sometimes collections. Speaking of collections, I watched one of your videos about your 80s room, and I was pretty impressed by your 80s collection. One thing in particular, I swear I was just talking about it like a couple of weeks ago with somebody at work, like a cartoon that was on that was not on for very long, and I had memories of it. Mask, that was on for like a year, maybe.
I mean, actually, it was 2 seasons.
Okay.
And the line lasted for 4 years.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember the toy
it's
line.
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Mask.
Yeah.
So it was pretty wild to recollect that, you know. And I don't do like full on collections. I only get what I used to have when it comes to the vintage stuff. And so like if there's say there's like 60 figures in the Thundercats line, I'm
Okay.
not getting all those 60 figures. I'm getting maybe the 11 that I had. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And that's been awesome. It's been fun to be able to recollect my childhood, you know. And the 80s room is just that room, along with my theater room and the Star Wars room and everything, it's just ways for me to continue to connect to that time period.
Yeah.
And that's what the channel was all about. It was just, it's never monetized. It's just, if I have something that I want to talk about, I turn the camera on and I go talk about it,
Yeah.
whether it be the 80s, whether it be horror, whether it be movie making, whether, whatever it is, ska, whatever. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's just a way for me to blabble, about the things that I love, the things that really make me me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. I think it's great that you still hang on to that and nurture that part of your life. It's I don't know. I that never happened for me. I didn't really do much in the way of a collection. Didn't really buy a lot of toys either. I was always insanely jealous of kids who had like a bunch of Star Wars figures, or like the Castle Grayskull, from the He-Man cartoon. Because I think I had like 3 He-Man figures. I know I had the Prince Adam, and I think I had one of his actual like He-Man type ones, and I think I had that Orca one, or Orco or whatever they called him, the ghost, the zip pull thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Run around the table.
I had, a lot of that stuff I still had. I just never grew up, much to a lot of people's chagrin. I've always sort of been the same Chris.
Yeah.
And, people grew out of that. People left.
Mhm.
People left my life. People changed. I'm not saying I haven't changed, but I'm still essentially the same person I've always been. And a big part of that is, keeping a hold of what it was like. Going into the 90s, going into the 2000s, I was still so very much connected to the 80s and my childhood. And I've just never let it go. And I think, that's one of the things that my wife says she loves about me is that I am eternally a kid.
Yeah.
I still get giddy about things that would make a 47-year-old, like a normal 47-year-old, not just be like, what the fuck? Like, who cares? Like, I'm like, ooh, a new Ghostbusters something. I just get so excited, and I still have a sense of awe
Yeah.
and wonder. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's part of what makes me happy.
Yeah.
This world sucks,
Yeah.
most of the time, and why not do whatever you can to make you smile? And so I'm never gonna let go. I'm never gonna let go. I've gone too far. I'm gonna be 80. Like, oh, the new Star Wars is out, and I gotta go see it.
That's great. Never let that go. I mean, you have to create your own happiness. That's very true. So and it's different for all sorts of people. Um yeah. Well, that's all. That's all I really wanted to say about that, I guess.
Right.
I do want to promote anything that you want to promote. I mean, of course, I'm very interested in helping to promote the Wellsville Nights. I would like more people to know about the documentary. Is there anything else you would like to shine a light on, like I was a young adult sex mutant from outer space? I mean, anything like that?
I mean, listen, we've got uh, you know, things are always churning.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, we're trying to get more episodes done for Wellsville Nights. Gonna shoot this summer. You can go to the GoFundMe and really check it out. Like, we want it to be worth your while
Yeah.
if you're going to donate. And if it's something that appeals to you, then please help us out any way you can. $5, it doesn't matter, anything. Um, so yeah, we've got Wellsville Nights happening. I did shoot a movie last summer that at some point is going to come out this year. My producer still says yes, it's happening. It's already edited. He just needs to do um, 5.1 sound mix on it, and he needs to do a little color correction and post on it. Um, but I can't wait to get that movie out and to start because we're gonna take it around for screenings first
Okay.
um, before it comes to physical media. So we're gonna set up a lot of screenings around the country of the film. And I just want to get going on that. I just want to, it's killing me that it's taken this long because we shot last July,
Yeah.
and the movie has been edited this since uh since since last September. So it's normally my movies don't take this long to come out, but because this is another distribution thing, it's actually produced. Somebody is you know, it's not just us, it's an actual company. It's J.R. Bookwalter and Makeflix and Tempe Entertainment and all that stuff. Then they do things the way that they do things.
Sure.
And so, we got to wait for it. But I'm excited for that to come out. I wish I could tell people what it was, but he does not want us to say anything about it yet. I've posted pictures about it. Even when we were shooting, I posted, production pictures and stuff.
Sure.
But we still can't tell anybody what it is, which to me is silly. Um,
Right.
but it was his money. It's gonna come out through his company. He gets to say, whatever. But as soon as he says, "Okay, Chris," we will let everybody know what that movie is and when it's gonna be screening around the country. So we have that, but we have a slate ready for the end of the year into next year. We've got Radikill, which I've been trying to make for 5+ years, and we're either shooting that in October of this year, or we're shooting it at the start of next year, um, and then we're shooting um, the Curse of Frank Wolfula, which is our Hammer film. It's
Okay.
Chris Seaver's version of a Hammer horror film.
Okay.
And then we've got I Was a Young Adult Sex Mutant from Outer Space. Which
Love
is
the title.
It's an homage to a film called Dr. Alien that was produced by Charles Band, and it's an amazing sex comedy. So it's sort of our version of that, a spiritual sequel, if you will. And then we've got Death Skate 88, which is one of the first Warlock titles that was ever sort of put down. And and I started Warlock in 2011, and that's one of the titles that we just never got to, and we're finally going to get to it. And so things are happening, man. It's always got to keep going, always got to stay creative. So there's a lot of stuff happening. At some point, even there's going to be an official release of the Death of Lantern films. Death of Lantern 1, Death of Lantern 2, and the remake are all getting its own like sort of big package that's coming out through makeflix.com.
Okay.
We've already shot extras for it. They're being remastered.
Okay.
So at some point this year, those are coming out as well. So yeah, lots going on.
Awesome. Is Makeflix a really good place to go for people who want to start getting into your films?
Makeflix.com. They the last couple of years they did a huge box set of 14 of the films that I made for Tempe Entertainment. And they did a tremendous job on that box set. It's really wild what they did. So you can get that. You can get the Weirdsies there. But a whole ton of shot on video films are on Makeflix. That is also the home of J.R. Bookwalter and his amazing films. So yeah, definitely Makeflix.com. The documentary Zero Budget Heroes, The Legend of Chris Seaver and Low Budget Pictures. It is out there. It's on Amazon Prime and it's on Tubi for free.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also get physical discs from Zach Oliveris on his website, Zodoc Films, ZODOC Films.com. He's just sitting on those discs, not promoting them. But if you like what you see free on Tubi, you can go get the physical disc from him at Zodoc.
Yeah, pick one up.
But if you're an aspiring filmmaker, if you love low budget, no budget shit fests, and you want to see the behind the scenes and stuff like that, check out Zero Budget Heroes. It may just inspire you to pick up a camera yourself.
Yeah. I apologize. My 6-year-old is like screaming in the other room.
Okay. I wish I could have my 6-year-old back. He's 17.
Oh boy.
Ugh.
That's a challenge.
What a turd. I would gladly take my 6-year-old,
Yeah. Yeah, they are amazing at that age. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on here to have this talk with me. I am sorry it took so long to do it.
Man, no problem.
Realize I made excuses and threw another guy under the bus, but that's okay. But I do have to own that it was very much my fault also. But I am so super happy that I was able to use my salesman-like skills to convince you, a third time that it was a good idea to come on my show. So you're very welcome. So I just want to say on behalf of myself, on behalf of Evil Mike, who's not here, and on behalf of Chris Seaver, I say, liked it. I loved it.
Smile, you son of a...